All right, guys, let's get into Big Ten over-under win totals. They were released by FanDuel this week, and
FanDuel.
I was on with Andy Staples this week, and he's just like, God bless FanDuel, because they literally gave us like so much content with these early over-unders. And I don't think any of us are surprised that Ohio State and Oregon have the two highest over-unders, and this is 12 games only, not playoffs and other games, at 10.5. So Oregon and Ohio State are the odds-on favorite to win the Big Ten and to make the college football playoff. And, winning the Big Ten next year will be a big deal because the four highest-ranked conference champions get buys in the playoffs. There's 4 power leagues and then the one group of 5 bid that would go into the playoffs. So if you win the Big Ten, you're going to get a bye in the playoffs.
A first-round bye.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So Oregon and Ohio State are today what they're saying are the two teams. I think Michigan at 9.5 is high.
I do too.
If I was putting down $20, I would say Michigan is more like an 8-win team.
Unders 100. They look like an 8-4 team to me. I mean, they lost, Robin. They lost a ton. They lost a ton off their staff. They lost a ton of personnel. Nebraska. How about Nebraska in the FanDuel? What do you call this, Sean?
Over under. Yeah, they have the win totals are at 7.5 on Nebraska, which in the old Big Ten West days, I mean, Iowa's 7.5, which, by the way, Iowa's low. Like Iowa,
they're always low. They're always
and
low.
They, for some reason, they're not doing whole numbers.
God, we agree, Sean. How about Nebraska though? If you're a Nebraska fan, you look at this and go, wait a second. Nebraska's projected same as Washington, over under wise, same as Washington, the national runner up, same as USC. Makes sense to me. USC overblown, but you got to feel good about it. Maryland at 7.5. Man, that's respect for Loxley.
They're a team that in this new Big Ten, not having to be locked in every year to play Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan.
Oh God,
they're going to flourish.
Huge.
I mean,
Rutgers and Maryland just got to feel like new.
They've
like
bumped
they got a
up.
new lease on life.
They've bumped up a weight class.
Yeah, they got a new lease on life. Because you're right. They were locked into the a horrible division.
They're playing for 4th place every year.
God, Nebraska. If you're a Nebraska fan, you got to look at this and feel good. I mean, it means nothing, but it is off-season fodder. And you're over under win totals the same as Washington
and Iowa and USC.
Let's see.
So what do you think? You taking the over under on Nebraska?
God dang it!
Right now on February 13th,
7.5 is perfect. It's 7 or 8 to me. 8 if it's a good year.
I'm going to go under and say 7.
Yeah, it's either 7 or 8. It looks like it.
7's kind of where I'm, because I don't want to overserve and underdeliver either, because I don't want to hear about it.
Yeah, it's been a long time since they won 7 games.
Because we're not in a position to overserve right now.
It has been 2016.
But they haven't had a first 7 like this since 2016. Remember the first 7 of 2016? It was Indiana. It was Purdue.
Oh, yeah.
It was Illinois. They had to beat Oregon, though. That was a tough game.
But that was a down Oregon team.
And they didn't have the big horse either.
They got up to 7-0.
Who was a big running back? Royce Freeman. They had him for about 3 plays.
So they got up to 7-0 that year, Nebraska, and then they were in the top 10. And then they went to Wisconsin, lost in overtime, and they could have won that.
The schedule is the reason why that number is what it is right now, because on paper, right now, it does look favorable. I mean, as far as compared to other teams, I think Nebraska's got a pretty good draw.
Well, they do. But they do, Rob. It is some of that, but also remember, 11th ranked defense in the country last year. It's 11th ranked defense in the country. We're talking about Tony White for a reason. They got a lot of those guys back. They got Dylan Raiola. And you don't figure Nebraska's going to have 25 turnovers from the quarterback position next year.
Hope not.
Right.
The Colorado.
Oh, God, don't. Yeah.
The Colorado game early is so big again.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Just to kind of bring it home. Because if you can get in Northern Iowa, obviously, and UTEP are on there, but if they could get to 3-0.
Colorado game's gigantic.
I mean, it's huge. And I think Rutgers is a sneaky game.
It is. It is sneaky.
Kalimanis is that get the name?
Kalimanis.
Kalimanis is the quarterback.
Former Minnesota.
That they brought in from the portal. I mean, they kind of had to go TJ Maxx route for their portal quarterback, and they got. I mean, he's good though. I mean,
I'll be damned, Sean. You did it again. What's wrong with TJ Maxx?
Nothing. I
You
mean,
get good deals.
get the 3-year-old Under Armour stuff there, you know. Stipple's like, that's my place.
Yeah, this is hitting pretty close to home right now. Hey, now wait a second.
Kohl's Cash.
Or you know what? A lot of the I got Kohl's Cash.
Greg Schiano used up his Kohl's Cash to get Gallimanis.
Levi's. I mean, they have an incredible stock of Levi's at Kohl's. Yeah, they do. Now, I got to get on track here. You know what this comes down to again? The conversation is always going to be close games. You just have to win a bunch of close games.
And so, how do you feel? Obviously, you have a high-profile quarterback, but he's a true freshman. How do you feel about a true freshman going to Indiana, winning a game in mid-October?
You don't think they'll blow out Indiana, right?
I'm just saying, like, those are the games that, like, if for Nebraska to get to 7.5, you got to win those. You know, and I don't know enough about Dylan Raiola as a college football quarterback to confidently say they're going to be X games improved from last year.
How would you know?
It's got to see it.
Yeah.
What I like, though, is it's the first time since 2019 Nebraska will open a season at home.
Yeah.
It's the first time since 2019 they'll open the season against a non-Power 5 team.
Big.
Do you understand what that has done to Nebraska football the last 4 years?
It's derailed their season before it even gets started.
And a place like Nebraska, when you open on the road and you lose, all of the wind is knocked off the sail.
A lot of it, yeah.
Everyone's upset, panic alarms.
Oh, think about the Illinois game when Frost lost that in Champaign and the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That was
the feeling that
was
day.
not a good Illinois team.
No,
it wasn't. It wasn't. And that the
think about the game in Ireland.
Oh God, those are disasters. Those are disasters.
Well, I would say the Ohio State loss
last year kept them out of a bowl game.
Yeah,
the Ohio State loss in Columbus. They played well for 3 quarters against a team that played for the national title. Like, you looked at that Ohio State game, like, okay, this team can compete.
Okay,
and then they ended up not being able to win more than 2 in a row all year. They went 3-5 and voted not to go to a bowl game.
That's right. Oh, that's right. Yeah, it
should have been probably a 6-2 type team.
What was the final score of that Ohio State game in the COVID year?
It got out of hand.
And I always felt a little weird about the reaction to that loss. And it was one of those moments where I was like, this program has really dipped because we're trying to sell this as progress. And they just got whipped. I mean, what was the final score?
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah, it was a rout.
Well, and
it was a blowout.
52-17.
It was 52-17, and we were trying to sell it as progress
because they had that big play from McCaffrey right out of the gate.
Right.
Like, oh, here we go.
I always remember thinking that week, oh boy, this program has dropped.
We wrote up Casey Rogers as he was like the next coming of
Steve Entman.
Because Casey Rogers, I mean, he looked good that day, but
great.
Well, then, the Penn State win of all like the wins of the last 10 years, the Penn State win in 2020 was as much fool's gold as any win Nebraska's ever had.
Yeah.
Like, they had no business beating Penn State.
No, they didn't.
And, McCaffrey somehow won that game.
Fool's gold.
I mean, that was not, the punt almost got blocked.
They almost had a punt blocked and nobody even
talked about
it. Yeah. It got blocked.
Sean, what was that guy's name? The quarterback that started for Penn State, who was
shoot,
I can't do it, Sean.
All right,
I thought his name was Sean
Clifford.
Sean Clifford.
Sean Clifford. That's exactly right.
I mean, he threw all those picks, and then lo and behold, Will Levis comes in. This guy that ends up being a first-round draft pick.
I know this is gonna be really obnoxious, but I'm gonna pat myself on the back. I told the guys, Parker and those guys, they'll verify it. I was like, this guy's good. Will Levis can play.
It's basically just like a Tebow out there, just sledgehammering on QB draws.
Live arm, tough runner. I was like, oh God, this guy's good.
But that was kind of the fluke when you watch how bad Nebraska's O-line got whipped that game, and they figured out a way to win that game.
Yeah. But you're right, Sean. The openers have really been
derailed.
Nebraska has not had early season momentum in God knows how long.
Right. All you got to think
16.
about is the way you guys and the fan base felt like after that Champaign game or after the Ireland game. Oh my God, it was a gut punch. I mean, you had guys up at the podium in tears. I mean,
because they knew.
And Frost, think about how badly Frost managed the Illinois game in Champaign.
Terrible.
When they lost that game. Like, they came out in a different, Illinois comes out in a different front, and Frost says that, and that was the problem.
I'm convinced, like at that point, for us, it just felt like he knew it wasn't going to work. He knew that Trev really wasn't going to back him, and things just kind of turned in 2021. I mean, just never really.
Oh, you know what else? Okay, you know what else I remember that goes with this conversation? What goes with this conversation? We talk about first game disasters. After that game in Champaign, I've never really talked about this with you guys. What I'll never forget is how pissed off the players were in the interviews. There was anger, like they didn't want to talk for obvious reasons, and it wasn't like they were down; they were just pissed, and it wasn't a good kind of angry. I didn't think it was like this is bull crap. You know?
Well, and finally they're going to open with a manageable game. Now the next year, is that when they open with Cincinnati at the El Toro Bowl?
I believe so. I believe so.
I don't know, but this is a welcome.
Yeah, August 30th.
So August 30th, 2025 is the El Toro Bowl
in Indianapolis.
Yep. And we will get T-shirts made for that by that point.
And we will go to El Toro.
We're going to do a live show from El Toro.
They won't even know who we are, and they won't even want us in there.
Sir.
Unless you're going to buy the margaritas.
No, it's not like they don't play college football on the screens in there.
They're gonna have a birthday margarita deal where they have the snare drum and they're just like banging it right in the middle.
They have
of the
like
show.
rodeos on their TV.
Oh yeah,
like Mexican rodeos.
Yeah,
the real stuff.
Yeah, the real stuff.
The 2025 El Toro Bowl in Indianapolis.
They should call it
El Toro.
Incredible.